moderator for today. With us today, we have Cheryl, Lisa, and Jack in person. Oh, Ken, sorry about that. And then we have Josie joining us online. There we go. Let's give them all a big, nice, warm welcome. Perfect. So thank you so much for being here with us today. And we're just going to kick off with the first question. So we'll start with Josie online, and then we'll move to Cheryl, and then move down the line. So first question is, can you please tell us your full name, your position, your organization that you work for, and just a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, so my name is Josie Young. I am the food program manager at Parker Street Food and Furniture Bank. I've worked here for almost 2 years now. And Parker Street was started in 1983 by Mel Boutlier. He started it on Parker Street in a food shed in one of the churches on Parker Street. And then it moved to Almond Street. And then it moved to here on Maynard Street, but we kept the name Parker Street because that name had become, embedded within the community. So here we are still today, and we're going strong. I enjoy being here very much.
Hi, everyone. Oh, that's loud. I'm Cheryl Crocker, and I'm the Executive Director at the Association of Early Childhood Educators of Nova Scotia. My organization is a professional association for ECEs across the province. So we do things like coordinating professional development courses, advocating on behalf of the profession, and we try to represent a unified voice for ECEs across the province.
Hi, I'm Lisa Harrison. I'm the Executive Director of Brunswick Street Mission, which is down on Brunswick Street in Halifax. The mission has been around in one form or another since the 1860s, but for almost the last 100 years, it's been in the Brunswick Street United Church. We don't deliver faith with our support. We're very inclusive. And we have a food bank 3 days a week, breakfast 5 days a week, social work supports, laundry facilities, and various other supports that people might need. We help people get into housing. We give them a warm place to sit or a place to cool down. And we do some special events as well.
Oh, thank you. My name is Ken Saunders. I'm the Executive Secretary of Parkinson Society, Nova Scotia. We have been active since 2018. I'm in my 13th year of Parkinson, 15th year of Parkinson's. We focus on providing education, resources, advocacy, and support. So our EARS is our acronym. Parkinson's is a difficult condition because everyone can be affected differently. So we have to this is Parkinson's, so I'm sorry. We have to organize our support for each individual, and it's important. The work that we do is very important, and we enjoy it very much.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to hear about your guys' organizations and the work that you guys do. Moving on to the next question. So how did you guys come to work in nonprofit, and how has your education and experience led you to your current positions?
Me first?
Yeah.
So honestly, kind of my whole life has been leading up to working here. I went to university and did a Bachelor of Arts with a major in international development studies. I had a passion for, I wanted to work abroad and specifically in food aid. That's what my goal was. But I didn't end up doing that. I spent 10 years working in the care sector, actually, working with adults with intellectual disability and mental health needs. And I enjoyed that very much. But, I eventually decided it was time to move on, go in another direction. And so I did. I went to culinary arts at Akerley campus, and then ended up working as a cook for 5 years, a line cook in a kitchen. And then that became something that I felt, okay, I no longer want to do this anymore. And then finally I found this place, which merged my two passions, helping people and food and helping people with food insecurities. And so that was great. I was finally kind of doing what I went to school for, only doing it here in my own community, which has been very fulfilling. And the experience that I got working in care and working in the food industry was definitely helpful in merging those two things together, coming to Parker Street.
My story actually has a similar start. I completed a Bachelor of Arts degree. And then after completing my arts degree, I went to law school. Worked for 10 years, had 3 children, and decided it was time for a career change. So when we couldn't find childcare for my oldest son when he started school, I started up a program out of my house and eventually my backyard. I started up a nature school, and I did that for the next 10 years. I had a before and after school program, and then I had a preschool program as well. And I just kept following that passion. Came back to school here at the Mount and completed the Child and Youth Study program. And now I've moved on to the Master's in Education and Lifelong Learning. And I found that, education is something that I'm very passionate about. And I've enjoyed the time that I've gotten to spend with young children and school-age children, and in wanting to improve the quality of care that they receive in the early learning and childcare sector. I'm starting to focus on professional development for ECs. And so that's all. I took the long and winding road, I think, to get here. But every step has been kind of moving me in this direction, and it's all of my experience and education gets used now on a daily basis in the work that I'm doing.
Well, I always wanted to be a graphic designer, so I became one, but I wasn't one for very long. So I went to NASCAD when I was about 27 and got my graphic design degree, and then moved to England. And I arrived on September the 11th, 2001. And at that point, there was no jobs for anybody in the creative industries. So I went and worked for a charity. And having not worked in charities before, I decided I liked the kind of the less hectic, aggressive nature of doing work that supported people rather than being in a private business. So I worked my way up in charities in the UK. So I started as a communications officer, soon moved into business development, got some expertise in social enterprise, and then moved into leadership positions in charities focused on people. So one of the things I've always had is a strong sense of social justice and that everybody should have opportunities to get ahead. So I worked quite a bit in organizations that dealt with the unhoused in London, people in social housing, ran a community center for the Irish in London, and worked at a couple of larger national agencies as well. And then I came back to Nova Scotia after 16 years, and I worked a bit at a trade organization, but really wanted to get back to working in an organization that was public facing. So for a while, I worked at Veith House in Halifax's North End, and then I ended up where I am now. And my education really didn't lead me here at all, but I think the creativity and problem solving required of you as a graphic designer does hold you in good stead when you're running a charity, and having good design skills is also really helpful because then you don't have to pay someone to do that work. So yeah, I think any route can lead you to a charity leadership position.
Well, I was in the Air Force uh, out of university. I took a business administration course. Um, then, long story, but I ended up owning a restaurant. I sold that, um, moved to Halifax from New Brunswick, and then I was hit with Parkinson's. And so I was kind of dropped into the nonprofit society. Um, my education and experience has been quite helpful, um, especially dealing with people. Um, the important thing that working with in nonprofit, it's different than working in a profit situation with the restaurant. So we have to kind of reinvent ourselves to get that focus. And education is always very important. And experience, work experience, life experiences all go together with this. Uh, so I think that's.
Well, thank you. It was really nice to hear how many different paths have led to similar situations and similar positions for you guys. So, what do you like most about your work and what do you dislike about it? We'll start with Josie online.
I love working with people, and I love helping people. I love being around food and working with food. I enjoy things like this. And I have on Wednesday, I'm going to be a part of what is it, a food network. And I went to a food summit before. All of these things just really interest me, and I love being a part of helping the community. And um, I have an amazing team here too, so that helps. Just really enjoying the people that you work with. Um, I don't think there's anything that I dislike about it. There are challenges. We rely so heavily on donations, and this is a food bank and a furniture bank, and we want to make sure that we continue to provide as much and as best as we can. So sometimes it can be stressful and difficult when we don't have when we get low, in our lower periods. But there's nothing that I really dislike about it. This has been an amazing job. Maybe one of my favorites so far.
So I think what I like about my work, and I've been in my position now for 3 months, so it's been a lot of variety. Every day at work is a little bit different from the day before, and I've got all kinds of different things, and I get a lot of variety in my work because I'm the only full-time employee for the organization. So I mean, that means that everything that needs to be done in the office, I have to do it. So there's a lot of different learning opportunities there. I'm the executive director and the social media person and the recruiter, the IT department, the accountant. I do it all. And so that's been great. And at the same time, though, it has its moments when it can be overwhelming because you go into the work and you realize, okay, well, this needs to get done. Yeah, that means I need to do it. We've got an event coming up and registration needs to be set up online. So that means I need to learn how to make registration live on the website today, right? So it can be overwhelming sometimes, but you just take every day as it comes and you take the time that you need to figure those tasks out and get them done.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of what we do, it's a great pleasure to help people and have that be your job in life. I'm always really proud that this is the kind of work that I do. I know people who have jobs that they're ashamed of who they work for, what the organization actually does. So I never feel that way. Um, I like my staff team because they're terrific, and I like most of our clients as well, and I like the fact that we kind of laugh a lot. We do a lot of laughing. What I dislike about it is we never have enough money or people in the staff positions. So there's always a kind of a focus on bringing in more and more funding. And people do get very stretched. And people like my social worker, I really need to have two full-time social workers, but I've only got one. They get really kind of ground down. We do hear some very, very sad stories. And you do see some people, unfortunately, who don't do better in the end. They do worse and then they disappear. And that's really sad sometimes. But it is really satisfying to be there all the time. What I find the most challenging, besides constantly thinking about fundraising, is I do encounter a lot of people, even within, say, my own board, but not so much at this job, but other ones, who somehow seem to think that running a not-for-profit is somehow sort of like a junior activity, like it's not really a business. And it's absolutely a business, and you actually need to know how to run the numbers, and you have to have really good HR skills, and fundraising is basically sales. Don't know if you know that. So that I wish people would understand more that the work that's done in charities and not-for-profits is truly valuable, and we're actually picking up the slack for all the services that the government is no longer able to offer. And I think we should be appreciated more, and I think we should be better funded by the government.
I agree with everything you said.
Great.
What I like most is the people that I talk to. The people that I meet with Parkinson's, their families, support workers, caregivers. Um, that makes I can be having a really bad day and the phone will ring and I'll be someone that is newly diagnosed with Parkinson's who was in the same situation I was 15 years ago, not knowing anything about Parkinson's. It also is what I dislike and what most challenging because it groups that together. The average wait now for a neurologist in Nova Scotia is between 3 and 8 years. It's very disheartening when that person on the other end of the phone who doesn't have a family doctor as well. And so without a family doctor, it's very difficult to get put on the list to see a neurologist. So how do I, without going into and giving medical advice, which we are not, we can't do. So how do we get more activity? How do we, and we talk to the health minister in the health department and in federal and provincial. And coming on elections, of course, finding new doctors. The premier that we have now, he won on saying that he could fix healthcare, which we all knew that he couldn't do that. But so that's what those are my dislikes and my challenges uh, for now.
Well, thank you so much. It is actually really nice to see that despite you guys having some challenges, you guys are still able to see the light and the good that you guys do provide for the community. So, what are some of the key skills and experience that is needed to work in the nonprofit sector? We'll start with you, Josie.
Well, I think skills that you want to have, you really want to be a people person and have that passion and compassion in you to want to see better for individuals and your community. I think working, I mean, it's going to depend on you're going to want different skills, I think, for different for different jobs within these organizations. But any job that you have is going to require those people skills. You might also computer skills. There's a lot of necessary computer work, whether it's registration or donor relations. There's gonna be working on the computer. You also, creativity is something that you want to bring to an organization like this, Food and Furniture Bank. We're always trying to make things better. We're always trying to make things work more smoothly and just make things easier by the day to day, and bringing creativity to the environment that you're working is going to be helpful as well. Any experience that you have in the past with working with people, helping out is going to be a bonus. But I think it's you can gather experience while you're working here. If you're going to work in a food bank, you might want to have food handlers courses, possess skills that that allow you to know the necessary food safety. But you learn a lot while you're here. Experience comes while you're here, but I think those are some key skills that you're going to want to have joining a food and furniture bank anyways.
I think Josie's hit a lot of the same skills I would have mentioned, actually. And along the line of the communication skills, you want to have good written communication skills. A big part of the work that you'll do, and I think probably with pretty much any nonprofit organization, is that writing letters to ask for funding. So to be able to look at, okay, what funding's available and how does my organization meet the criteria for that funding, and being able to construct that, line that up in any requests that you're writing. So that comes back to good written communication skills and a little bit of that ability to make an argument, right? So that is a big one. And yeah, I think I'll leave it there. So you got something left to say.
Yeah, absolutely second that in terms of writing and communication skills. One area that charities and not-for-profits sometimes let themselves down is not communicating with their donors, not saying thank you, not getting back to people. Donors have a reason for giving, and it's not just because they're generous. They want to feel special as well. So it's kind of recognizing that in a sensitive way. I think, in terms of the skills and experience for a nonprofit, it's the same as any private sector organization. If it's a big enough charity, it's going to have all the same roles as well. But in terms of specific things to working in a not-for-profit, I think being really adaptable, like, I didn't get the funding for the project that I wanted to do, we're just going to have to do it a different way. And also being really pragmatic. It's very hard to be a perfectionist in my job because you're not going to get it perfect. So you just want to get it done a lot of the time. And I think as well, resilience. It's really disappointing. I've worked in places where out of every 10 funding bids we put in, we'd maybe get two, and so you have to keep like just chipping away at it and coming back to it again and again. So you got to be really resilient. And going back to what both of you have said as well, you have to like people. You have to have a strong sense of empathy. You have to be able to kind of a lot of the clients that we work with can be deeply unpleasant, and you have to be able to kind of go, you know what? Their story brought them here. Maybe they're not fun to deal with, but that's really when it comes down to it, not their fault. It's our responsibility to help them and try to help them see the good in the world. Because a lot of people, when they get to us, they don't see the good in the world anymore. They're just trying to grasp for whatever they can get to get by, and that's 100% understandable. And I think you have to understand that the systems and what's happened previous to now has put people in these positions. You can't blame them for where they are. So you've got to always keep an open mind and have as much empathy as possible with people.
I feel like everybody has said the important things, but the ability to listen is in with our group, and especially because people that come in and a lot of times they just need someone to talk to that are going to listen, and I'm sure all of the other groups, you can't be judgmental of the people. Um, we're probably a bit, our client base is probably a bit different than you guys, a little bit, yeah. We do have people that need financial help, especially paying for medications. My Parkinson's drugs cost over $800 a month, but it gives me the way that I look today. And people say, "Oh, you don't look like you have Parkinson's." What do people with Parkinson's look like? Michael J. Fox. That's the first thing that when I ask somebody that. So listening and talking are a big um, experience that we look for. Um, internet work, updating our website, emails, all of our social media. Uh, and today, kids today, and I don't mean kids, but university, you guys and ladies, um, you can whip through something that takes me probably 3 days, and you can do it in like 5 minutes. So computer skills are everywhere you go now. Um, and be, being willing to help. And I think everybody else on the panel here, it's the same thing. If you get a volunteer who will come in and there, we all have jobs that are less favorable to do. But if you have a volunteer who only wants to be at the top of the chain and is not willing to get down into the trenches and get their hands dirty, that's something that is important, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Give some people a break from speaking first. So our next question is, what advice would you share with a student at the very start of their career? And Ken, we're going to start with you this time.
Have a focus on what you want to do. Your education is so important, and it doesn't matter what you're going to do. When I had the restaurant, I had people who would come in for an interview for different positions. And the ones that had strong book learning, once they got into the kitchen and we had 250 orders coming in all at once, and they panic because they don't know how to be in the real world. Because if you read a book about whatever it might be, when you get into, you need to throw that book away and focus on the what is going on. But you still need education. That's know what you want to do. Get as much volunteer experience as you can, because employers look for that on the bottom of that resume or application. I know I look for volunteer experience because that really shows an employer that you're willing to work even though you're not being paid, but it goes high on the list.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And like go and volunteer where you might want to work. Because if you get to know an organization and its people and its practices, and you have a massive advantage over other people applying for the role. Um, I've had a lot of students work for me over the last, I guess, almost, they're say 25 years I've been working in the charity sector. And they always, a lot of them, like, interns and stuff will say, Lisa, what should I do? What's the most important thing when I go and apply for jobs and stuff like that? And I see people mess it up all the time. There's such basic things like always be on time, always be polite, write really well, just don't expect people older than you to communicate with you like you communicate with your friends. Like when people text me all the time, I just want to kill them. I don't have a track of what's going on. So like, just, it's true though. I wanted an email. So I mean, and always overdo it. When you go to an interview, overdress. Don't ever think maybe this will do, then you're underdressed. Suits are still cool, actually. You can wear them. I don't have to wear one to work, but if someone shows up in an interview in a suit, that's good. I'm impressed by that. Um, and yeah, like it is true. Like, with volunteering, you can find out so much more about the type of jobs that you can have and the things that you can do. It's a really good way to go for it. And just because you're a volunteer at an organization doesn't mean you get pegged as someone who never gets paid. It means you get pegged as someone who's shown up and kind of done some version of the work already. And that's the kind of people that we want on board. I could probably go on about this all day, so I won't. But and during the interview process as well, I've interviewed thousands of people probably, and here's one thing you should always do: research before you go to the job. If I ask you what we do and you tell me you don't know, then I'm flabbergasted. And always have questions at the end of the interview. So at the end, I go, "Is there anything else you'd like to know?" You need to have planned 2 or 3 questions about what else you want to know. If you say no, I think that's it, then I'm not impressed again, because you're not really thinking about the job or what you can do. You've always got to have questions that makes you look like you're smart and you're thinking about it. And yes, again, like in terms of resumes and cover letters, don't use Indeed, ugh. But like just don't just throw them out there at everything. Go for jobs that you think that you're qualified for or that you could be qualified for, and write a very specific cover letter that is specifically about that organization and how you fit in with it. If it looks to me like it's just a standard one that you send out, it's right in the garbage. So yeah, that's my advice for job searching.
And Lisa just stole all my advice. I don't have much else to
Reiterate
say. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go back to, I like how you started, Ken, with thinking about what you want to do. And a lot of my past experiences as an early childhood educator and working with children. And so I know, young children are always thinking about what they want to be when they grow up. And there's a big difference between what you want to be when you grow up and what you're going to do. So really think about what you're going to do and look for a place that will support you in doing that. And be open to the possibilities. And another piece of advice that I have is starting out in your career. I know that there's a lot of pressure when you're coming through high school and then university to know what you want to do with the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be that big, right? You can have a plan for the next 5 years and that's fine. It doesn't necessarily have to be the rest of your life. So be open to different possibilities too.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that last statement. My advice was going to be enjoy what you do. There is such pressure. I mean, I didn't do what I went to university for, but when I went into care, I had this idea that, okay, this is it. I found what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So when I got burnt out and when I started to not enjoy it anymore, it actually took me 3 years to leave, because I was scared, because I was like, wait a second, this is me. This is what I'm supposed to want to do. But you know, that's not the case. You don't have to have your whole life mapped out, in one job or in what you thought it was going to be. And life is just, I've found so much better if you enjoy what you do and you like the people that you're working with. So don't be afraid if you go out into the world and you start in one thing that you thought was going to be it and it's not. Don't be afraid to change your mind and go back to school if you have to, or find work, in the field that you're in, but in a different sector of that field. Just enjoy what you do.
Well, I think that is some awesome advice, especially the one about loving what you do and that you don't have to be stuck in one career for your entire life. I think that's something that a lot of university and even adults forget, and it is great to be reminded by people who have gone through that in their own experience. So thank you so much for all those insightful words. We now have time for some students in the room and online to ask some questions. Students online, if you just want to put your questions in the chat box and I will come and ask them for you. And any students in the room, if you have any questions, if you want to raise your hand, we have a microphone that we'll bring around to you.
Here's your chat.
Hello. Could we apply for volunteer with your organizations? I am social worker in my country. I am from Colombia. I already certificate my career with West World Education Services. So I would like to know if I can apply for volunteer as social worker in these organizations.
I don't really know what the rules are about bringing over qualifications from other countries. But I mean, we're a very inclusive organization. So a lot of our volunteers are people who are newcomers or come from other countries. So I'm always happy to consider that. And also I want people with as diverse backgrounds as possible working with our clients, because our clients are a very diverse group, lots of different languages. So any other languages people can bring, that's terrific. So I'm happy to give you my card and you can contact us, because I have a volunteer manager, and I'll forward that and we could talk.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Squeaky wheel gets the grease if you speak up.
there any other questions in the room? Don't be shy. They're not going to bite, guys.
Hello. I'm just curious how each of you guys would gauge success in your organizations. Like, how would you consider that you're making an impact?
When I think success for us as a society is seeing the difference that we are making for people with Parkinson's, getting them into the door for healthcare, showing them how it can be done, even though there are challenges. When we have a $2,000 a year scholarship now at Dow, and that's something that is one of our successes. Hopefully we can expand on that more. But yeah.
And success in my organization is similar, but we look at how early childhood educators in the field are doing. So if we can do work that's helping to improve working conditions for ECEs, which has that big side benefit of also improving the quality of childcare that children are receiving across the province, then I think we're doing well.
Me?
Yeah, Josie, do you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think we see success on a daily basis through our food distribution program. We currently are like Mondays and Wednesdays, we serve 100 clients. And Thursdays and Fridays, it's like 80 clients and 60 clients. So, you know, there's definite success in that. And we see success in our programs. We have a lot of programs like our Christmas hamper program coming up, coat drives. We just did our back to school program. Seeing people walk away from these sorts of things with smiles on their faces, and just knowing that, you know, we've helped to make things a little easier for them. There's success in all of that.
I'd also say, I mean, that's absolutely true. We do a lot of the same stuff as Parker Street does. They give out even more food than we do. One of the ways that you measure success in a charity as well is, are you breaking even? So it's about fundraising success. So are you getting enough money in to get the services and the food and everything back out? So you have to look at it like a business in that sense as well. Also, I consider like really good feedback from our clients, like I said, is a good way to measure how you're doing. And also I look at, are the press contacting us for comments on what's happening around Nova Scotia and HRM? Because I guess another one of the problems is, like, if we were really, really successful, our charity wouldn't exist anymore, right? What you want always is for your charity to eventually not be necessary, because people have everything that they need, and then, you know, your mission is accomplished. So you know, one thing to remember is a lot of what charities do is we're the band-aids, you know, but we're not creating the problem. A lot of the situations that we deal with are stuff that's, you know, started happening decades ago or hundreds of years or who knows, you know. So it's about being able to keep going and delivering the service, but hoping that one day it won't be necessary anymore at all.
So my question is more about like the organizational side of things. Lisa, you mentioned that non-for-profit organizations often aren't like seen as equal to public or private organizations and businesses. So how do you, again, you struggle with funding. How do you, I guess, for anyone who potentially has like an entrepreneurial mind who thinks that I can help someone or start an organization like this, how do you pay yourself when you know all the money you want to go towards something bigger and better?
I love questions about
Yeah.
pay because
figured
I'm a
you were-
professional and I deserve to be paid for the work that I do. And I think that's something I tell people all the time because I have people look at our books and they go, oh my God, the majority of the money here is spent on salaries. And I'm like, yeah, because people deliver the services, you know, and this kind of devaluing the work of charities by kind of acting like the people who work there somehow should. How am I supposed to work for free? I don't have, you know, a partner in finance, and I just get to do whatever I feel like. I'm the main breadwinner at my house, you know. And I think what I would always do is tell people all the time that these jobs should be paying jobs because we're actually having a really positive impact on the society around us. It's great if some people can volunteer so completely that they can almost work full time for free. And we do have some very well-heeled volunteers at Brunswick Street Mission who come and do breakfast a few days a month, you know, but also might like donate $10,000 at some point. But most of all, you have to remember that it is professional work. So if anybody ever asks about pay scales, I'm always trying to pay my staff a living wage, you know, which is going up and up all the time. So I think it's really important to do that. And I think if you pay people properly, you get better work, you get better outcomes, and you have better morale. So it's a better place to be as
Yes,
well.
absolutely. I guess my question is, where do you find the funding? Often not-for-profit is generating donations and finding funding from the government and that kind of stuff. So I guess it's how to find the money to pay your staff
Well,
appropriately.
you diversify, you know, so you get like some government grants and you've got trusts and foundations. And then if you're lucky, which I am, you have a lot of private donors, like individuals and companies that donate regularly to you. I mean, unlike some other charities, God, because I work for different types of places, you know, we give out food. So people really get that very quickly. It's very emotive. So if you can get that message out there, then people do want to donate toward that. Although they generally just want to buy food. Nobody wants to donate towards salaries. But but you know, but we work that out in the end. But you just have to keep, I mean, that's the main challenge of someone in my position is constantly looking for different sources of funding. And also remember, you can also have social enterprise. And that's one of my favorite things in the world is having a business where you sell things, make money, and then throw that back into the charity side of things. That's a great model as well.
Do we have any other questions in the room? Well, that concludes our nonprofit leadership panel for today. Let's give a big thank you to all of our panelists, Cheryl, Lisa, Ken, and Josie, for joining us and taking the time out of their very busy schedules. And I do just want to thank all the students who attended both online and in person.
Down here. I know some have already signed in for that, but if you haven't signed it, please sign it if you want to be insured to get your learning passport pointed.
And any Learning Passport students, please don't forget that you have 48 hours to complete the survey to get the point for today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Anything you need for me?
What's your name?
Kaylin Lloyd?
Kaylin Lloyd. I'm going to add you to the list, okay?
Thank
Okay.
I'm not in that class when I signed it anyway.
That's good. No, listen, that's good. That's good. Have you signed?
No, thank you. This is totally.
Yes, thank you. And have you signed the
Yeah,
sheet?
already signed.
Okay, perfect.
Quick question.